The American Republic will endure until the day Congress discovers that it can bribe the public with the public's money. Americans are so enamored of equality, they would rather be equal in slavery than unequal in freedom. America is great because she is good. If America ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. Nothing is more wonderful than the art of being free, but nothing is harder to learn how to use than freedom. I do not know if the people of the United States would vote for superior men if they ran for office, but there can be no doubt that such men do not run. Everybody feels the evil, but no one has courage or energy enough to seek the cure. There are many men of principle in both parties in America, but there is no party of principle. Liberty cannot be established without morality, nor morality without faith. The more alike men are, the weaker each feels in the face of all. History is a gallery of pictures in which there are few originals and many copies. Society is endangered not by the great profligacy of a few, but by the laxity of morals amongst all. There are two things which a democratic people will always find very difficult: to begin a war and to end it. Society was cut in two: those who had nothing united in common envy, those who had anything united in common terror. When I refuse to obey an unjust law, I do not contest the right of the majority to command, but I simply appeal from the sovereignty of the people to the sovereignty of mankind. Slavery, dishonors labor. It introduces idleness into society, and with idleness, ignorance and pride, luxury and distress. It enervates the powers of the mind and benumbs the activity of man. We can state with conviction, therefore, that a man's support for absolute government is in direct proportion to the contempt he feels for his country. Despotism may govern without faith, but liberty cannot. The health of a democratic society may be measured by the quality of functions performed by private citizens. The happy and powerful do not go into exile, and there are no surer guarantees of equality among men than poverty and misfortune. The surface of American society is covered with a layer of democratic paint, but from time to time one can see the old aristocratic colors breaking through. I am unaware of his plans, but I shall never stop believing in them because I cannot fathom them, and I prefer to mistrust my own intellectual capacities than his justice. Slavery received, but the prejudice to which it has given birth remains stationary. Each man is forever thrown back on himself alone, and there is danger that he may be shut up in the solitude of his own heart. No form or combination of social polity has yet been devised to make an energetic people out of a community of pusillanimous and enfeebled citizens. When justice is more certain and more mild, is at the same time more efficacious. Now I know of only two methods of establishing equality in the political world: every citizen must be put in possession of his rights, or rights must be granted to no one. Despotism alone can provide that atmosphere of secrecy which favors crooked dealing and enables the freebooters of finance to make illicit fortunes. No African has ever voluntarily emigrated to the shores of the New World, whence it must be inferred that all the blacks who are now to be found in that hemisphere are either slaves or freedmen. All those who seek to destroy the liberties of a democratic nation ought to know that war is the surest and shortest means to accomplish it. Nothing conceivable is so petty, so insipid, so crowded with paltry interests, in one word, so anti-poetic, as the life of a man in the United States. The most natural privilege of man, next to the right of acting for himself, is that of combining his exertions with those of his fellow creatures, and of acting in common with them. In the township, as well as everywhere else, the people is the only source of power, but in no stage of government does the body of citizens exercise a more immediate influence. In the United States, the majority undertakes to supply a multitude of ready-made opinions for the use of individuals, who are thus relieved from the necessity of forming opinions of their own. To be a government of a liberty regulated by law, with such results in the development of strength, in population, wealth, and military and commercial power, as no age had ever witnessed. But a democracy can only obtain truth as the result of experience, and many nations may forfeit their existence whilst they are awaiting the consequences of their errors. In reality, it is far less prejudicial to witness the immorality of the great, than to witness that immorality which leads to greatness. Amongst civilized nations, revolts are rarely excited, except by such persons as have nothing to lose by them. For benefits by their very greatness spotlight the difference in conditions and arouse a secret annoyance in those who profit from them. But the charm of simple good manners is almost irresistible. Town meetings are to liberty what primary schools are to science. Nations, as well as men, almost always betray the most prominent features of their future destiny in their earliest years. The Revolution of the United States was the result of a mature and dignified taste for freedom, and not of a vague or ill-defined craving for independence. One's love for despotism is in exact proportion to one's contempt for one's country. He who in given cases consents to obey his fellows with servility, and who submits his will, and even his thoughts, to their control, how can he pretend that he wishes to be free? Under wage labor, the art advances, the artisan declines. No protracted war can fail to endanger the freedom of a democratic country. In democratic society, each citizen is habitually busy with the contemplation of a very petty object, which is himself. I had rather mistrust my own capacity than God's justice. In America, religion is the road to knowledge, and the observance of the divine laws leads man to civil freedom. Next to hating their enemies, men are most inclined to flatter them. America is a land of wonders, in which everything is in constant motion and every change seems an improvement. What is called family pride is often founded on the illusion of self-love. A man wishes to perpetuate and immortalize himself.